Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication. Welcome to episode 180, Protecting Our Future for Conception into Pregnancy for Ourselves and Our Children for Humanity. What will the future of conception be? How can we protect pregnancy and birth? Are we evolved enough to create bigger changes? And so I have a special guest here. I feel like everybody knows Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton. Welcome, welcome. How are you?
I am a happy person to be here with you, Kelly, and especially as I mentioned, very happy that we have an audience that is very interested in the future and especially child development, because that is the future.
Thank you. And I'm just going to read your small, quick bio here. Bruce H. Lipton, I know you've probably heard this a million times. Cell biologist, lecturer, is an internationally recognized leader in bridging science and spirit. Bruce was on the faculty of the University of Wisconsin School of Medicine and later performed groundbreaking stem cell research at Stanford University. He is the best-selling author of The Biology of Belief, the Honeymoon Effect, and co-author with Steve Bhaerman, I hope I said that right, of Spontaneous Evolution. Bruce received a 2009 prestigious, I don't know if I'm going to say it right either, Goi Peace Award, Japan, in honor of his scientific contribution to world harmony. That's a big hold, world harmony. So again, thank you so much for being here. I know right before we jumped on, I was already kind of throwing some energy into the conversation, and I would just really love to hear what your thoughts are around the future of fertility and children and pregnancy. And I know it's like there's probably a lot to say and it's a very big topic, but anything that you can share about that.
Well, yeah, let's start off with a very important fact, and that is this: organisms are built with a drive to survive. It's called the biological imperative. It's a description of the fact that every organism is built to continue living as much as it can. I mean, so even a bacterium, you want to, kill a bacterium, it will do everything in its capability to stay alive. It's not going to go, oh yeah, kill me. So every organism has that drive, from bacteria to humans. Okay. When threats come in, and there's threats on the individual, but there's threats on the species, and the biological imperative covers both. So your personal drive is, for example, you will always seek air and water. That's a drive. You need to do this kind of stuff. Okay. And the very important part about it is that's for you as an individual. But there's a bigger biological imperative experience, and that is when life is threatening the species. And I go, so why is that different? I go, well, the first one is I take care of myself, biological imperative for me. But if I want to take care of the future, then all of a sudden there's another aspect involved here, including, and most importantly, reproduction. That's how we can get to the future. If there's a threat on a system or species, very important point, they will start to mature earlier sexually than in previous times, get the reproduction off the ground faster. And we've seen that where women reaching puberty much earlier and earlier and earlier, and now it's like it's probably below teens even. I don't know if it's even 11 and 9, 10 and stuff like that. And I go, this is a drive that is built in. It has nothing to do with your consciousness. Bacteria don't have that kind of consciousness we have, but they have a drive, and the drive is so fundamental to biology that it's below consciousness. It will influence you. So yeah, we're all being influenced to recognize that our species is under threat right now, and that in fact we're facing an extinction process that we, human behavior, is creating, and so we're actually destroying ourselves. So what does that mean?
Something you said, wait, I want to stop you. Something you
Yeah.
said, and I have to kind of confirm that. I actually have seen in my community, I have little ones and I'm an older mom, and I actually have seen boys and girls going into puberty under 10 years old.
Yeah, well, this is,
Yeah.
and there's a reason why, and it's a relatively recent drop. If you look at it, it pretty much stayed the same for a long time, and then just within very few recent years, all of a sudden, it's getting younger and younger and younger.
Wow.
Because as the threat gets greater and greater, then you need more production to bring it back up again, and so we're facing this. Now, there's also another quandary here. This is below consciousness. Okay, this is the biological imperative that's driving us to do this. There's a part that has to do with consciousness and programming that can conflict with this biological imperative, because there's a part to understanding of this, that a human will not be able to reproduce unless they're in a situation that will support that reproduction. Basically saying, let's say a woman is totally undernourished, is not being supported, she's going to find it very difficult to get pregnant. And women are finding it, some women are finding it very difficult to get pregnant. And it's interesting because there's a consciousness involved. In fact, you probably would support this, is that many times after they decide, okay, I'm going to adopt a child, they adopt a child, then they get pregnant.
Oh my gosh, all the time. I see this all the time.
Because they overrode the initial reason not to get pregnant, is that, will I be able to support this child? Well, you already did. You just adopted the child, so you went against the biological imperative. But now that you're demonstrating I can do this, guess what? Okay, you can have a child yourself now. Why? You've changed your consciousness. That was the point. There was some level of not being able to have that child for whatever subconscious reasoning, not supported, not enough money, environmental conditions not working right. Nature does not invest in reproduction unless there's some surety that this investment is going to manifest. Nature is very wise and prudent with the energy. It's not going to throw energy into creating a baby if that baby doesn't have much of a chance of making it through. So all of a sudden, say, then we have a drive to reproduce, and then there's an inherent subconscious drive to not reproduce because of the world's in a crazy chaos. Do I have the money? Can I even do this? Can we support the child? Will I have a job? All these kind of things. So it's funny because that's an antagonism. One pushing to reproduce, the other one is pushing not to reproduce, and people are caught in the middle. Some of them really want to reproduce, but the conditions of their world interfere with that idea. Again, nature is intelligent. It doesn't reproduce just because you say you want to reproduce. It recognizes how much energy a mother has to create to support another life. And if that level of energy isn't available, then nature is not going to say, well, let's start the project and see how it works out. No, it's not going to there's not going to be a pregnancy until the issues are worked out. So we're in a strange place. We're in a place where civilization's threatened. NASA scientists have revealed that within the next 2 decades, probably even faster, civilization that we're in is facing what is called an irreversible collapse. I go, what does that mean? It says, first of all, it's not coming back. The civilization we have is not coming back. Why? It's the cause of the problem, the way we're living on the planet. And so the point is, nature is saying, well, look, you've already taken more resources out of the planet than you can use. There's no more future. Why? What'd you do with the resources? You squandered them. You ruin the ecosystem. You're polluting the air, the ground, the water. Human behavior is throwing a big monkey wrench in the web of life, which is collapsing. And people don't recognize, if the web of life collapses, humans collapse, because we are an extension and part of that web of life. So we can't, like the people are, oh, well, we'll just go get a spaceship and go to another place. I go, come on, that's comedy science fiction. That's like, yeah, right, you're all going to go on a spaceship. Like, come on. Nature is giving us a warning right now and says, you either start to take care of this situation or you can't be here. And it's not that nature is going to disappear. Humans are going to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
Nature is going to come back full blast. As a matter of fact, one of the interesting things is the Chernobyl, the atomic plant, the nuclear plant exploded, right? And because of the radioactivity, they created what is called a zone of exclusion. And it says in this area, no humans can go in this area because of the radioactivity is high. So the humans have been left out. So for the first couple of years, it was like, nothing much had happened. Then all of a sudden, guess what? It started growing. It being nature started growing, created a forest. There was a city near Chernobyl. Today, if you look at it, the trees are growing out of the windows and on the rooftop and all over the place. Why? It's been abandoned. There's nothing there. And there are more animals in that area than anywhere else in the former Soviet Union. I go, wait a minute. It has become lush. It has become overgrown. It has the most animals, and its nature is splendid. Why? Because we're not allowed to go there. That's the point of the issue. Is like, yeah, humans go say, oh, well, the world will be destroyed. And I go, no, humans will be destroyed. Mm-hmm. Nature will bring back the world to the beauty that it was. We came from a garden, okay? The problem is, a garden is not a battleground. A garden happens to be the height of cooperation. And we have turned it into a battleground. Mm. And as a result, the garden is disappearing under our feet. So we need to take care of the species. And that brings us all full circle around and says, okay, what about this reproduction thing? I said, well, this is important because why are we having these problems today? Why does this world look the way it does? Why does the news give us a story of, oh my God, hell on earth is happening right here now? And it's really interesting because I have to add now something so important to the storyline. I go, what is it? The most valid science on the planet, the one with the most truth of any science on this planet, is called quantum physics. I go, so? Well, quantum physics is principle number one. And it's like, principle number one is if you get it, the world changes. And principle number one is consciousness is creating our life experiences. That we are creators of our life experiences. I go, so significance of that, I say, what's happening in the outer world is a reflection of what's happening in our inner consciousness. Okay. We're manifesting all the problems that are on this planet because there was a garden until we started to say we can control the garden, forgetting who we are. We're just another animal in the garden. We're not the creator of the garden, but we are destroyers of that right now. And we have to bring in a new way of consciousness. And to bring in a new way of consciousness, we have to first ask the question of why are we living in what amounts to a hell on earth? Falling apart, pollution, racism, religious upheaval, every damn thing, economic, social, political chaos, boom, going crazy. And the answer is, as creators, we are creating our own extinction. I guess, where does this come from? Who wants to do that? I don't think Kelly's sitting around going, oh yeah, I can't wait for the damn earth. No, who's doing that? And I go, here's the secret and why then it becomes so important about Kelly's work. And that is the following. A brain in a person is a supercomputer. It's a computer that technology can't even match at any point at this time right now. I go, so what? I say, it's a computer. I go, so what? And I go, because it has the same functions as the computer you're using at home. I go, what do you mean? I go, well, look, let's put it this way. You buy a brand new computer. Let's go back to the older days. You buy a brand new computer and it didn't come with programs. You got a computer. come home, plug it in, push start, boom, it lights up, the screen, booted, it's booted. I go, yeah. Now I say, do something with your computer. And you go, well, I can't do anything. I said, what do you mean you can't do anything? Got a brand new computer. What do you mean you can't do anything? You go, oh, first I have to put programs into the hard drive. Then I could use the computer by putting my information in via the keyboard. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? The human brain's hard drive is called the subconscious. It is a part of the brain that only has programs in it. Okay? The conscious is the latest evolution of the brain, and that's the one connected to our spirituality. But it's different than subconscious, and fundamentally, this is the difference. Subconscious is program. Conscious is creative. I go, wait. I go, yeah. I go, rule number 1, quantum physics. Consciousness is creating our life experience. I go, yep. And guess what? The conscious mind is the creator of those life experiences. And I go, yeah, but if we're who's creating this mess that we're in? And it goes, ready for this? We are. What do you mean we are? I go, well, I say, ask anybody, what do you want out of this life? What's your creative wish or desire? Oh, heaven on earth, love, health, happiness, joy, all that beautiful stuff like that. And I say, yeah, well, if that's your conscious wish, and that's almost everybody's conscious wish, then how come we're not manifesting it? I go, the monkey wrench in the whole world that then takes us really importantly back to Kelly's work. If I can swing it around, that monkey wrench, it goes like this. The conscious mind, which is the creative mind, the wishes and desires guy, the conscious mind can do 2 things. It could look out your eyes like the windows of the world, and you can go out into that world and you can be creative and do what you want, okay? But the conscious mind can do something else. I say, what's that? It can think. What's the difference? Conscious mind can look out at the world and interact with the world and be a creator. But when conscious mind is thinking, it's not looking out. Consciousness is looking in. A thought is on the inside. So I'm talking to Kelly on today's Wednesday, and I asked Kelly a very simple question. I tell me what you're doing on Friday. Now, it may not be written in front of her, and I don't think it is. But I bet you in a minute, she'll tell me what she's doing on Friday. She doesn't have to tell us. I just want you to understand that if we wait a minute, she's going to tell us. I say, well, Kelly, where'd you get the idea of what you're doing on Friday? You thought about it. Well, guess what? When the conscious mind is thinking, it's not looking out, it's looking in. So what? And I say, well, what if you're driving the car and you start thinking? I go, then you're not looking out the windshield. You're back inside. I go, well, who's going to drive the car? And then I go, that's the idea of the subconscious. It has programs. It knows how to drive a car. You've practiced, you've studied, you've driven. It knows how to drive the car. It's 1,000,000 times more powerful a computer than the conscious mind in the first place. So I say, so here's the whole story. Lipton's coming in. We're coming into something important here. And the important part is this. When we are thinking, the subconscious programs take over the character of our lives. That thinking occurs 95% of the day. So I say, oh, well, then the conscious mind, the creative mind that has the wishes and desires, how much is that working? 5% of the day. I go, well, that's going to be hard to create a life because 95% of the day you're thinking, and guess what? The programs are running the life. Oh, I go, well, what are these programs? Well, guess what? The first 7 years of your life, in fact, it actually starts 3 months before you're born. Through the next 7 years of your life, your conscious brain is not engaged predominantly. Matter of fact, it's hardly used at all in those first 7 years. and the brain is operating at a different vibrational frequency. And I go, what is that? I go, that's not new age. That's put wires on a person's head. It's called electroencephalograph. I could read your brain, its vibrations. The child's life for the first 7 years, the vibration is lower than consciousness. Child's not fully engaged in consciousness. The lower vibration is called theta. Theta is imagination. I go, yeah, this is how kids under 7 can mix the real world and the imaginary world seamlessly. You know, that tea party. I love it. Hey, pour nothing into the cup, drink that nothing, and that was the best tea you ever had in your life. I go, that's called theta. Theta is imagination mixing with reality, and that is a character. I go, yes, that is true. Now I go, what else? And here it is. Theta is hypnosis. What does that mean? A child is in hypnosis state for 7 years. I go, why? And there's a great answer. The answer is this. How many rules do you have to learn to be a functional member of a family and to be a functional member of a community? Thousands of rules of what you can do, what you should do, what you shouldn't do. Okay? There are things you shouldn't do. No, don't take your clothes off in Manhattan and run down the street. That's probably one of the things you should have learned. No, they shouldn't have done that. Okay. And there are things that you learn you should do. And I go, well, wait a minute. Where'd these programs come from? Now becomes the issue. A child under 7 is observing the world in a state that consciousness is not present, but the mind is in a state of hypnosis. So what it observes, the child, what it observes is downloaded. Because the child can't go to school and learn the rules. It's too young. There's not going to read in a book and see what's going to happen. I said, then how the child's going to learn? I said, all the child has to do to learn is watch. Because it's in a state of hypnosis. And I say, oh, then a child watches first the parents, to see how they behave. Generally, and has been in the past, but there are reasons why we're facing a difference now. Generally, it used to be the boy focuses on the father, the girl focuses on the mother. That was the old way. And I say, what's the focus? And I say, because as a guy, when I was a boy, I would observe my father because it would show me the behavior that a parent, a father, an older person has, how they are part of the family and how he's part of the world. And I say, I have to learn the behavior. So what do? I watch. I just watch. I go, guess what? Why? Because I'm recording. I'm in a state of hypnosis. So I download the behaviors of how to be a member in a family and to be a member of a community by simply observing and watching and downloading, just like a video camera. I go, so what? And I go, well, then 95% of your life is going to come from what you downloaded. I go, okay. And I say, now here's the problem. You don't know what you downloaded. Why? Well, I said, well, you started downloading before you were born. Tell me what message you learned in the 3 months before you were born. Okay, wait. You were programmed a whole year from 0 to 1. I said, and tell me what program did you download? Oh, you don't know that one. Oh, okay. Wait. You were programmed a whole year from 1 to 2. Tell me what programs you got. No, I can't tell you. 2 to 3? Yeah, another year. I say, so what's the point of this? The answer is, you were not conscious when the programs were put in, so you don't have a personal awareness of learning the programs. But your life, 95%, is coming from those programs. So I'll give an example of how it can get messed up. My mother and father had a dysfunctional relationship. I'm the boy. I watch my father. How does the relationships occur? I downloaded his behavior. That was dysfunctional. That's why they had a problem. I go, so what? Then 95% of my life after I was born, I was playing those same behaviors that I downloaded. And I go, so what? I said, I didn't see the behaviors. You didn't. So you don't see the behaviors. I say, why not? I say, why are you playing the program? And the answer is, because I'm thinking. I go, yeah.
Mm.
Where's your attention? Outside or inside? Oh, inside. So whatever is coming out of the program, we don't see it. I say, why not? Because you're playing the program because you're not paying attention. and so your behavior is part of, you're not paying attention to that either. You're inside figuring out, what am I doing on Friday? And I going, so what's the point? This is the point. True story, quantum physics. Your consciousness is creating your life experience. True story. The creative wishes and desires part of your life only works 5% normally. So therefore, your life is a printout of your subconscious programs that you play and you do not observe.
So can you say that then, as you're making me like go into deep reflection here with a
Yes.
lot of things, because
Yes.
it's something I was kind of been reflecting with over the years, is I feel like a lot of human beings, we live in the past all the time and we're not actually really present. And what that made me realize is that my chronic pain story
Yeah.
was always in the past. And even not kidding, 2 days ago, I had a somatic experience session and I actually was asked, where is this coming from? And I saw my 2-year-old self. And my 2-year-old self told me, and this is pretty deep. This is a big deal. I'm going to share it. Where my 2-year-old said, my adults didn't feel really safe for me right now because they had a lot of stuff going on. And I felt that hypervigilance. And in that moment, there's some part of me that said, I'm going to have a life of pain. And I have a lot of sickness, autoimmune, whatever. And then I'm going, it was just so profound to go into that moment and go, I like the 0 to 7, like I don't have a lot of memories, like everything, and I actually have just turned 7-year-old and he's so magical and he's so like present and so different. And hopefully he has a more regulated mother. But so, yeah, going back into this 2-year-old, I'm going, I had to like re-nurture and see her world. And I was like, wow, that's a lot for her to carry this whole entire life up until this moment of 48 years old. I'm like, wow. And like, can I change the story? I think a lot of people want to know that. Is like, then how do I begin to?
That's a usual question about it. Okay. So let's start with this. You have been programmed. You do not see your program because the reason you play the program is because you're thinking, which means I'm not looking out. So whatever behavior is coming out, I'm the one that can't see it. I've told this story so many times, but it's the only one I can tell because I've got a better one. I say you have a friend, you know your friend's behavior very well. You happen to know your friend's parent. And one day you see your friend has the same behavior as the parent. So, of course, you tell your friend, you go, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad. I go, back away from Bill. I go, and you know this. I say, what do you mean? I said, what do you think Bill's going to say? You know what he's going to say? He's going to say, how can you compare me to my dad? I'm nothing like my dad. And I go, people laugh. I go, yeah, they've had that experience. I said, but you understand what the experience is saying. Everybody else can see that Bill behaves like his dad because that's where he got the program from that he's playing. But Bill's the only one who can't see it. So he's the one saying, I'm not like my dad. Everybody else says, you are like your dad. But Bill can't, in his conscious mind, not his conscious personal mind, he doesn't want to be that. So the point about it is this. We end up playing these programs 95% of the day because of our thinking. And as a result, then our creative character of our life is put aside, and the program character of our life is what is expressed. And that is why we live in a very strange world, because the programming has been disempowering. It has made us victims of the world. And when you're a victim, what does that mean? It says, I am powerless. That's what victim means. You have been programmed to be powerless. I go, yeah, the first 7 years. I say, what did you learn? I go, 60% of what you downloaded, self-sabotaging, limiting beliefs, and just straight disempowerment. I go, what? I say, you didn't learn you were the smartest, brightest, most intelligent, creative person on the planet. Why? Because nobody said that to you. And that would have been the program. What'd you get? Okay, quiet now. Don't talk up. You're not that smart. Who do you think you are? I go, what is the issue? Because we still have to get back to Kelly's big program, and getting back to it is here. And I said, what's the issue? And I said, the issue is this. 60% of the programs you downloaded are the disempowering programs. They operate 95% of the day with a computer, that subconscious, that is a million times more powerful a processor than the creative conscious mind. Do the math, start to regulate and recognize what? You are not controlling your life with your wishes and desires. You have been programmed. So it's interesting because the movie The Matrix, most people have seen that. I go, it's science fiction. I go, no, Matrix is a documentary. I said, what do you mean documentary? I said, first premise, everybody's been programmed. I go, well, that's not science fiction, that's real. And then I go, what else? And they said, well, and I love this part because here's the part that, and I said, what is that part? I said, well, the idea is in the movie, you could take a red pill and you could get out of the program. I said, guess what? Almost everybody out here right now has taken that red pill at one point in their life, and it radically changed everything. I go, what was it? I say, your life was blah, 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 blah. And then you met somebody and fell in love. And in 24 hours later, you have a different life. 24 hours later, you're experiencing the honeymoon effect. So what's that? Oh man, I'm so in love. Life is so beautiful. Oh, the food is so good and the music is great. Even the crummy job, I don't even care anymore. I'm so in love. And I said, what'd you create? Heaven on earth. It may not last a long time, but I said, guess what? It was an abrupt change. Blah, 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 blah. Fall in love. 24 hours later, heaven on earth. I go, what was the point? And here it is. Falling in love is the red pill. Because when you fall in love, you stop thinking. You stay what is called mindful. Point is simple. You've been waiting for this person your whole life. They show up. This is time to think and disappear. I go, hell no, this is time to stay present. Like, yeah, let's celebrate. Let's go out and have fun. Blah, blah, blah. I go, guess what? You stop playing the program because you stopped thinking. What happened? Then your conscious creative mind ran the show. Oh, that's the one with wishes and desires. I go, and that's what you expressed. And I go, well, the honeymoon doesn't last forever. I go, yeah, you know why? Because at some point you start thinking. So what does that mean? Well, look at it this way. Your partner has never seen any of your programs. Why? You stopped playing programs when you met them. But down the road, hey, you got jobs, you got responsibilities, you got things you have to do. You start thinking. I said, what happens? You start thinking. I said, all of a sudden the programs come up. And I say, but your partner never seen these programs before. I go, yeah. And like in my particular case, what happened? I'd bring up my father's dysfunctional behavior, and my partner would look at me and go, who are you? Where did that come from? And then you have to recognize here's where the argument starts, because the person, me in this case, who just said whatever that wasn't right, was the only one that didn't even see what I just said. Everybody else saw what I just said. And I'm going like, what do you mean, who am I? I'm the same guy I always am. I go, no, you're not. You are now playing the programs that you did not play when you were in the state of being mindful and being present and taking that red pill called love. And then once these programs start showing up and thinking increases and more programs showing up, that's when couples start to realize at some point, maybe they're not this tight. Maybe they're loosening up a little bit here. And at some point, 50% of them say, whoops, hey, game over. Why? I didn't sign up for that.
That's
Okay.
so
So the issue is this. That's our creative ability. We have created strife, problems, destruction. But when we fell in love, we created heaven on earth. And I go, so why is this important? I say, where did the destruction part come from? I say, the programs. I say, when'd you get those? I say, before age 7. I said, where'd you get them from? Your parents first. I go, so why is this relevant? let's go back and talk to Kelly now.
Oh. You're making me go, what about me as a parent? I have a 7 and a 12. So I'm like, I'm going, don't mess them up. Don't mess them up.
But people, if they don't know there's programming and they don't know how the programming occurs, then they're blind to the fact they could be destroying the future of their child based on their lack of understanding. The big issue comes from here. And I'll tell you, one of the big issues of this planet right now is, and we test this in our, when I do, workshops where we do test belief systems, 80 to 90%, that's a big number, 8 to 9 out of 10 people will not test positive for the belief, I love myself. I go, why? And what's the consequence? Well, let's talk about the consequence. If you don't love yourself, nobody else can love you. Because if someone says they love you, your mind's going to go, well, man, they don't have any quality control. I know I'm not lovable. They're blind. And then soon you will push them away and then they'll be gone. And then you go, see, I'm not lovable. They're not here anymore. I go, yeah, right. And the point about this is that what happens is parents have made a big mistake about the developmental intelligence of the child. The child under 7 is not conscious thinking. A child under 7 is recording. I go, why is this important? And here's the big problem. Let's start with the idea there's a sports team and there's a kid on the sports team and he's not performing well. I said, what do you think the coach does? Oh, please do better. No way. The coach goes up, that's not good enough. Who do you think you are? You don't deserve to be on this team. Okay. And I go, but the child's over 7. He's on the sports team. And now he's thinking. I go, what is he thinking? Ooh, the coach says I'm not performing well and I have to do better. And that I don't deserve to be here if I don't do better. And that encourages the player to do better. Now I say, same coach, parents, child's under 7. And the parent says, you don't deserve this. You're not lovable. You're not this, you're that, whatever. And I go, the parent's acting as the coach, like the idea of now the child will do better. And I go, no, you don't understand. The child doesn't think, it just records. I'm not lovable. I'm not deserving. I'm not this. Why? That's what the parents said. I go, yeah, but the child is not thinking. Why? It's under 7. It's just recording. And all of a sudden I say, it is the self-critical part of our adult life. It's become self-critical because the programs that we downloaded criticized us. Not good enough, not smart enough, not deserving, not lovable. I go, those are our programs that most people get. Not by the intention of the parent, because the parent didn't know that that being the coach at this moment doesn't work because the child's not thinking. That's the problem right there. But the child's recording. We were all that child. But if you have a child, guess what? You are the source of their programming. And I go, yeah. And I go, I'm going to be a conscious parent. I go, what does that mean? I'm going to do the best I can to make my kid the best I can be. I go, oh, is that conscious thinking involved there? Yeah, you consciously going to do that? I go, and how much of the conscious thinking are you doing during the day? 5%. Great idea, conscious parenting. You may not be conscious parenting because that was a conscious desire. And that only works a short time. You're going to revert right back to the programming that you got. And that programming was downloaded from your parents, who downloaded programming from their parents. And it passes through a family. And guess what? Disease passes through a family. And we always used to say, oh, the genes cause that. The genes cause cancer. It's running in the family. There's not one gene that causes cancer. That's a scientific reality. There is no gene. You have the gene, you get cancer. No, it's all based on percentages. I go, so
Mm.
what does that mean? Well, then possession of the gene itself is not the only thing that causes the cancer. Something else causes the cancer. The gene is activated or correlated with it,
Mm.
but the gene doesn't cause it. So, for example, they follow the fate of what happened when an infant is adopted into a family where there's cancer running in the family.
Mm.
The adopted child will get the same family cancer with the same probability as any of the natural siblings, except the adopted child came from totally different genetics.
Wow.
Where'd the cancer come from? The programming, the disharmony of the programming that takes us out of balance with life, and especially when we're criticized, because it takes us out of harmony with life. It makes us self-critical. And then all of a sudden I say, well, this is not good behavior for you. And if you're a parent, sure as hell not good behavior for your baby, because they're watching you do this behavior.
Mm.
And all of a sudden I say, so yeah, we started the program with, we're facing a natural extinction event because the behavior that we have been programmed with over the years has taken us from health into disease. The idea of Darwinian theory is one of the biggest problems in the world. I go, what's Darwinian theory? Oh, let's summarize it as it is. It's a competition for fitness and the struggle for life. Oh, survival of the fittest. Oh, what does that mean? Well, then I have to be fitter than you are, because if you're fitter than I am, then I lose. So the fittest, I have to be on the top. Competition is Darwinian theory. And guess what? We now know evolution is driven by cooperation. Competition. It's competition that is causing one person to try to take over the other person, beat the other person, get more than they have, push them down so I can go up. I say, these are behaviors that we were programmed with. Do you have to go to school and learn that? Look, my father never went to school, but he knew about a dog eat dog world. He knew that it's a struggle out there and you got to compete, you got to fight and all that. And I go, gotta fight? Gotta compete? Nope. That is a destruction of nature, which we are now manifesting because of that behavior.
I have this idea that the politicians and all these wars are run by everybody's inner child, wounded inner child.
Absolutely. And their gut reactions, once you're in a stress situation, then thinking is automatically shut off. Stress hormones shut down the conscious processing of the brain. I go, why? Because conscious processing is too slow. So, for example, let's say you're in a car and it's going out of control, and you stay in the conscious mind as it's out of control. Here's my story. Oh, okay. Now let's put it in real life. It starts to go out of control. Oh, steering wheel, brakes, thing, boom, 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 boom. You went, and I go, wait, what happened? Your conscious mind was shut off. You were put on automatic fast behavior. The responsiveness, the reaction that you learned how to deal with the car was all engaged. No thought. Why? Thinking is too slow. And so guess what? In our lives, we generally push for the fast process, which is the program, rather than using the thinking. And as I said, the thinking part's only 5% of the day anyway. That's controlling you. And you're the parent. And you say, I'm the conscious parent. I go, really nice. I say, 5% of the day you are. What about the rest that you don't see? I go, well, you might sometimes all of a sudden see yourself come out of that program and catch yourself on the last minute, last seconds going, ooh, I was just like my mom. Oh, I was just like my dad. You saw it at the very end when the consciousness kicked in all of a sudden as you were playing a program, and you saw it at the very end, like, oh my God, that I was just acting like my mom. People see that. And I go, yeah, that's the moment where all of a sudden the consciousness became aware of the program being played. But most of the time it's not. So you have no idea you're behaving like your parent, and you totally are. Story of Bill. Yikes.
Yeah, you have my mind running all these different things. I'm thinking about my husband when I call him his mother sometimes. comes up. I do.
because he can't see it
No.
either,
I'm
you
like,
know.
hey,
But
yeah.
that's the cool part, because that's the personal experiences that wake you up to the fact, if you understand he can't see that behavior himself,
Mm-hmm.
accusing him of it makes it worse,
It does. It
because in his mind he says,
does.
no, that can't be. I'm not like my mom, you know. But that's his conscious
Yeah.
mind denying the reality of a program that he doesn't see.
Yeah, and I think aren't we I feel like maybe I mean, we're in reflection and relationship with people. Isn't it probably more typical that we would see these? I see this with friends, like you shared that story, or even with clients that I don't know, and the way I perceive and connect with them, I could see sometimes I'm like, do I say this because they're not going to get it? But sometimes I say it anyways because it's so deep. It's like I almost feel like I try to talk to people's souls a little bit more than maybe the thinking self so
Yeah,
much. I don't know, because I always, some people I say, you know what, you may not know what I'm saying right now, but just let this other part of you absorb it.
yeah.
Whatever that other part is, we're not going to overanalyze it.
It's very difficult because they're behaviors you don't want to own,
Yeah.
and they're self-sabotaging. So when you play him, it's not only screwing up with other people, you screwed up yourself in the entire process. And it's like, oh, I wouldn't hurt myself. I go, not consciously, you wouldn't do that. Subconsciously,
Yeah.
doing it pretty much a lot.
And isn't
Uh,
that like most of, I mean, I feel like when you talk about, I know we're kind of going off into this other area, but with cancer,
yeah,
I literally have seen, and I'm not joking, and I was just talking to people, and when I say this, they look at me like, what are you talking about? I said, every other person I meet has cancer. I'm not joking. And I go, that feels like a lot to me. Why am I seeing these people? Is it bigger than it is? Is the planet just bigger? Like, I don't know. Do you know what I
it's
mean?
the cancer epidemic is increasing continuously, and it's interesting because there was a concept that we practice here in the States that is totally wrong, and the idea is throw more money at it and you'll resolve it. And we keep throwing more money in healthcare, and the health crisis gets worse every day.
Mm.
What's the point? It's not the money, it's the thinking that's going to use that money that is wrong. You know, the idea of looking at genes as the things that control life, which everybody's been programmed with since they were kids. The
Mm.
reality is that is a complete 100% false understanding. A gene is a blueprint to make a protein, which is the building blocks of the body. I say it's a blueprint. I go, so why is that important? Just emphasize this. Go into an architect's office and she's working on a blueprint, and ask her,
Mm.
hey, is your blueprint on or off? And she would look at you like, wait, crazy? There's no on and off to a blueprint.
Mm.
That is absolutely true. A gene does not have an on and off. It's a blueprint. It can be read or not read,
Mm.
but it's not the decision of the gene to determine if it's going to be read or not read. It has nothing to do with the gene. It has
Mm.
to do with the consciousness, which is the architect that activates those genes. It's
Mm.
consciousness that can change those genes. So, for example, as I said, everyone thinks that cancer is a genetic thing. It's like 90% of
I've heard
cancer is
people say that.
totally, yeah, 90% of
Yeah.
cancer is totally lifestyle, 100% lifestyle.
Mm.
I go, why is this important? Because we want to kill the cancer cells and we're going to make them better. And say, the cancer cells are already the result of the problem. You didn't change the cause of the problem by killing the cells. They were already the problem, but they didn't cause it. What caused the cell? And the answer is consciousness,
Mm.
and disharmony, and anger that can't be expressed,
Mm.
heat. These are the things that does this. The heat of, not the temperature, but the heat of like that. And so the point about it, and this is why it's so important, especially for women,
Mm.
because they've got a belief. Oh, I've just been tested and I have the BRCA gene. I go, what do you think that thought? What thought is
Mm.
going to manifest in that person's head? Oh shit, I'm going to get the cancer. I say,
Mhm.
your vision is what? Cancer? Oh, didn't we tell you that your consciousness is creating your life experience? It's
Mm.
consciousness that creates the cancer, not the cancer cell. That's the result of it. And the idea is you can kill all the cancer cells you want. You didn't change the consciousness. I'm sorry, you haven't dealt with the problem yet.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea, and this happens to every aspect that we have attributed to a genetic control when it's not really true at all, but we have been programmed to believe that. And I said, so when I was teaching that in the medical school, genes control life, I said, well, what does that really represent? And I asked three questions. I said, well, two questions. I say, did you pick the genes you came with? You go, okay. Oh, okay. If you don't like the characters, can you change the genes you came with? No, I can't do that. Oh, and guess what? Genes turn on and off by themselves, not you. I go, so put those three things together. And I say, what did we teach people? They're victims of their heredity.
Mm-hmm.
It's running in the family.
When you say that, I remember my mom years ago said to me, you got to be careful because we got this. And she's like, and I'm looking at her going, okay, well, you can have all that. I am not going to do that. And she was like, kind of like baby boomer, kind of like taken back by my, like, what do you mean? Like, let's line up, Kelly, like this. And I go, no. And she always thought I was such an anomaly. Like, she always said that California has made you this way because I grew up in New Jersey. And I go, it's not California. I just have a different perception and the way I view and see the world and what I feel. And I'll never forget that. And guess what? I did not sign up for those things. And she's passed away now young because she had way too much sickness and trauma. And so then I'm going, oh, look, I'm not signing that one. I'm not going to get that one. It's not even in my consciousness. It's not there. I'm like, whatever. And so even something else you said, like, again, going back to the cancer epidemic, and I feel like I believe everything is connected to an emotional connection, from even these diagnoses from autoimmune, endometriosis, all these things. And I have this thing that I could do where I can actually see the origin, where I can see where people actually have acquired that through their life. And I realized that people actually don't want to know that.
Because a part of it is they've been programmed to perceive themselves as victims of a world where they have no control.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you tell them all the possible things that can go wrong, all they're going to do is go, oh my God, it's going to go crazy. I have no control. And I go, well, that's the farthest thing from the truth. We are controlling it. Walk across hot coals. Don't do that unless you understand you can control it. Because if you get in the middle of that walk and say, I wonder if I could do this, it's like, boom, you just burned yourself right there at that moment. Because what was the point? You created the walk by having the awareness that this will not affect me. If you challenge that belief and you're in the middle of the walk, then you've opened up for the burn right there at that moment. I go, yeah, the fire will burn you if you're not consciously in the right place.
Okay. Yeah, that's really powerful. You just making me think of this other story. My mom lived a lot in the hospital. And so there was an occasion where I went to go see her. I felt very strong. I was very pregnant. And I wasn't allowed to go into a room without masking and putting a gown on because she was contagious, whatever that was. And I snuck around past everybody and went through. And I wouldn't even touched her. And I said, whatever this contagion is, I go, it's not mine. I really felt very strong about that. And my body was not my baby. We weren't going to absorb it. And so I went in, connected with her and left. And guess what? Nothing happened. I got to feel her and be in love without all this stuff and following the orders that didn't feel right with my own instincts.
This is the fear game. The fear game is if I can get you afraid, I can control you at that point. And the flu, look, every year, hey, flu season's coming. You can get the flu. Take your flu shot. Okay. And what did they convince people is if I didn't take the flu shot, I will get the flu. And all of a sudden they were all programmed to get the shot, whether the shot was useful or not, which mostly it is not useful at all. And the idea, get the COVID vaccine, that's the killer flu, which scared people even more. And the more fear they're in, the more stress hormones they release. And guess what? I said stress hormones shut off the intelligence. I didn't also emphasize it also shuts off the immune system. The more people are afraid, the more sick they become. It's a coincidence of, oh, fear shuts off immune system, opens up the system for attack. Yeah. The more stress people are under, the sicker they get. So in today's world, very interesting fact, you genetics-centered people, let me give you a fact. Less than 1% of disease is connected to genetics. 90% of disease is straight due to stress.
Wow.
That's a fact. I go, why? And I go, well, first of all, because stress shuts off the immune system. That makes you now vulnerable. First thing, the more you're afraid, the less your immune system works. It's not to punish you, but what it's doing is, when you're afraid, it's like running from a saber-toothed tiger. And I say, well, when you're afraid, then what happens? I say, stress hormones go in the body. I say, what are they doing? They say, prepare you to run from the tiger. I go, what do you mean? I say, well, blood has the energy. That's where it's carried. I go, so I say, so what happens if I'm having a moment and all of a sudden a saber-toothed tiger comes up? I say, well, I got to run like hell. I say, then where do you want the energy of your body? I want it in my arms and legs. And I say, so here's the first fact of stress. It causes the blood vessels in the gut to squeeze shut. Say, why? Because that's where the blood is mainly. I say, why? What's the function of the gut? Maintenance of the body. Fixing, repairing, cleaning, filtering, all those things. And I say, what happens when stress hormones are released? And here's right out of the textbook. The blood is preferentially sent to the arms and legs. I go, why? Because that's what I need to run away from the tiger. I go, how does it preferentially sent? Because stress hormones cause the blood vessels in the gut to squeeze shut, and that pushes the blood to the periphery. And I go, and you experience this. You actually can feel it. It's called butterflies in the stomach. It's called being queasy. I say, what is it? It's the experience of feeling the blood vessels squeeze shut, shutting you down. Okay, so I say, oh, then the first thing that happens when you're under stress, you stop taking care of the body. I go, yeah, because you're going to use that energy to run away from the tiger. I also mentioned, yeah, but then stress shuts down the immune system. I say, yeah, because you know what? It uses a lot of energy. If you've ever been sick, you may have not even had the energy to get out of the bed. Yeah, but if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, the hell with a bacterial infection. If the tiger catches you, you don't have a problem with a bacterial infection. So guess what? Then stress hormones shut off the immune system. That's number two that screws you. Why? Maintenance of the body immune system is what keeps you healthy. And then number three, I already mentioned, is what? It makes you less intelligent because it squeezes the blood vessels in the forebrain, which pushes the blood to the reflex part. So you become less intelligent. So I say, what's the result? 90% of illness on this planet. Why? Because the stress in this world is so high. And I go, well, why would nature make a system like that? I go, nature did not make a system like that. Nature made a system to run away from a saber-toothed tiger. Why? Because if you run and you're gone 10 minutes later, if you're safe, the tiger's gone, guess what? You can go back to growth again. But in today's world, stress is 24/7, 365. The biology was never designed to be in stress.
So it's like running from the tiger every day is what you're saying.
Continuously.
Every day. It's like, I'm running from the tiger. So then your body doesn't get a chance. Yeah.
And the immune system is on hold. And all of a sudden people get sick. Why? Stress. That was the whole thing. 90% of all the illness. Stress, not living in harmony. Where the hell did that come from? Programming. Where'd that come from? Development of the child. Who's responsible? Parents.
So the future looks, no, I'm not gonna, you're gonna say, wait a minute, the future looks, we don't know. Like, we could say, but I think maybe I'm more a visionary of hopefulness, that new earth energy, new earth children, there are newer children being born, and that maybe we're evolving to listen to other parts of ourselves, right? And like, I know I've come to an agreement with the way I perceive the world. Used to feel like it was a punishment to me. because I wasn't fitting in.
Yeah.
And then I realized, actually, after the pandemic, I'm like, I fit right in. This is great. That we all perceive something different and we connect in different ways. And I know my mission is, I know it goes deep into my own story, like subconsciously. I didn't realize it until like years ago, that I want babies and mothers to connect and fathers in deep ways before life. So then when they're in
Has
pregnancy
to.
and birthing, it's like your parenting begins even in that cosmic embryonic space, I'll
Yes.
say, and how we have to cultivate trust and healing around that. But I know everybody's traumatized, but and like you say about stress, it's very frustrating to me because I'm like, yeah, even I get that even for myself. I feel like I've created a very de-stressing life, but it's still there, you know?
Well, I love it because first thing is like one of the things I reprogrammed is I don't get angry anymore.
Hmm.
Why? What does angry do for me? Well, it hurts my physiology, shuts me down, screws up my biology, and doesn't do anything to make anything better.
Hmm.
And I reprogrammed it. I haven't been angry in 20 plus years. Why? Because I used to like
Hmm.
take it to heart and then I'm going to control stuff. And I
Hmm.
go, no more. Nope.
Hmm.
I let go. I don't have to have it anymore. And the fact is, guess what? My life is really beautiful. Why? Things that would provoke anger don't come into my life because I'm not broadcasting
Mm.
a
Hmm.
energy that induces an anger, because what you broadcast is going to resonate with what you are thinking. And
Hmm.
your broadcast is going to manifest what you are thinking.
Hmm.
Quantum physics. Okay. So the reality is, if you think negative things, do you think positive things are going to show up in your life? I go, no, you're broadcasting
Hmm.
an energy to manifest negative things. And then they show up and you go, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. I go, yeah, you created it. That's why, you know, and it becomes so important because we have been programmed. And to get out of this situation, we must stop programming the future generation
Hmm.
by limiting their beliefs and disempowering them with beliefs that are not true. Genes don't control life. That's a get that out of the system. That takes a lot
Hmm.
out of it. The idea of spirituality as quantum physics,
Hmm.
not as new age, spiritual doo-doo or something. No, it's quantum physics. It's an energy. You are an energy, and your identity is a broadcast, and your body is the television set. And
Yeah.
I'm receiving the Bruce show, and I'm right now, hey, you're looking at the Bruce show right here, right now. But Bruce is not in here. Bruce is
Mm.
picked up by the antennas and played through here. And when people start to understand something like that, it's called spirituality as
Mm.
reality. That death cannot occur because you're the energy. You're not the body. You're the energy. It's always here. I love this stuff
I
because
know, and I always try to demystify, like, people see my title and they put me into something specific like new age. And I said what I'm really, and I'm writing a book that's taken me forever, but I really want to go into the instincts of natural connection we have to human life. You
yeah,
don't have to be a religion. In a religion, you don't have to be learning crystals and singing bowls, which I love, but you don't have to do those things. And I want to bring that back more to people. It's primal. It's your birthright. And somehow there's this amnesia I think we're born into, where it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, there's a baby here, or there's no consciousness, and I know, I studied a bit of pre and perinatal psychology with my somatic psychology. I saw in your book you talked about Thomas Verney, and he's also taught at the school I was at. And so, you know, I feel like we're getting there, but I feel like I want people to be there more, like this,
yeah, it's necessary, and that's why your work to me is very critical. It's the future of our evolution, and we got to start. Well, first you should start with yourself. But it's like in the airplane, they say when the air mask comes down, put yours on before you help anybody else.
Mhm.
And the idea, that's the true story. How can you help other people if you yourself are not in a position of being healthy in the first place?
Mm.
So it really comes, we have to take care of ourselves. But then it becomes very critical for parents. And this is why, I'm happy to be here with you, because the idea is what? we carry from our lives information that can be passed on to the fetus even before conception. Oh my God, what's the new science? It's not genetics, it's called epigenetics. And I go, what's epigenetics? Genetics is the story you've learned. Oh, this character is under genetic control. Genes control the character. Now I say, no, this character is under epigenetic control. I go, sounds the same. I go, epi means above. So under epi, above genetic, of epigenetic, above the genes control, we now know that consciousness and environment are the shapers of our genetic activity, and that we're not just passing genes on, we're adjusting the genes before we pass them on. And that these things have to be understood because a child is in some sense already pre-programmed even before the sperm and egg came together, based on what epigenetic programming occurred in that person's life as they were creating the germ cells and then passing that on. So conscious parenting absolutely begins months before conception. Because if your life experiences have epigenetically coded you to not be a healthy and smart and strong person, then you will also then pass epigenetically some of these factors onto the offspring. But if you clear your epigenetic programming, then when you're creating a new child, you're giving them more of a blank slate that they can create. And then, of course, you have to be recognizing that your thoughts and your behaviors are influencing the baby. And this happens, women don't understand this, because when I was used to teach in medical school in the old days under genetic control, genes control, we would just say, what's the role of the mother? Well, she should, eat well and take vitamins and supplements and exercise. I go, why? Well, that gives better nutrition for her to pass to the child. I go, is that all the mother is doing, is just feeding the fetus? And I go, well, when we thought genes control life, the answer was yeah, because we say, oh, the genes will control the fetus and she just has to feed it. But now the science of epigenetics realizes that the environment is controlling those genes, and that the mother's blood has more than nutrition. It has information of how to organize her biology to fit into the world. And so she's passing on that information to her fetus via the blood. Why? Because the child's going to have to live in the same environment that the mother's experiencing. And so she's like head start. She's already giving the chemistry of how to adjust the genetics of that child to fit the environment that she's in. So all of a sudden it's like, yep, the mother is already programming the genetics of the child. I said, well, does that leave the father out? And I go, absolutely not. Why? Because if he screws up and messes her vision, which then changes her chemistry, which she's then sending to the fetus. And all of a sudden it says, both parents are creating an environment, and they have to do it in harmony and in love, because then what they will pass to their child is a whole different expression of understanding this. And this is why then your work is like, well, let's clear the damn filters to help create the child that we want, the child that will take over the planet, because they're intelligent and they're ready, and they're ready to do this. And that's why your work is so important, because you are a coach in a sense to help them create the most powerful child ever. And we want them to do that because those children are going to be running the show. And I surely don't want them to be inhibited or held back by programs of limitation in a world that we have to seriously evolve into a new world. So keep up the work, Kelly, because to me, that's part of my future. What you do is enhancing my future. And that's why all you people out there, Kelly offers some great information for you, because if you're going to help create the future with a child, then you should really recognize how powerful your role is as a parent. You're adjusting their behavior, you're adjusting their genetics, you're adjusting our future. So Kelly, I'm running out of time here.
I know. I want to, it was just so poetic and beautiful what you were just saying. I love that you were like, the power of the children. We're like, they are the future, and we do want to keep creating beautiful, loving things for these parents that want to bring in these amazing children. And children are
Right.
just, they're so beautiful, special, magical. I'm really lucky, I have two boys, and I want to see, I hold the vision of the new world. Yes, I know there's going to be a lot of shit collapsing, but I also hold that vision that there is something beautiful, and love is the foundation. And I just want to leave just one more, just kind of share how people can connect with you, like your website and anything.
Simple.
Yes.
BruceLipton.com.
Perfect.
And there's all kinds of information freely downloadable, whether it's written information, podcast, video things. They're all available to you. Topics, even you can index them and look for them. Why? It's a new world. And if you're caught up in the old world, I'm very sorry, because that was a world of limitation. The new world is a world of creation. And you are creators, whether you know it or not, which, there's a book. Some people have seen that one. Yeah. The idea is you are the creator of this. And if you don't like the creation, don't look outside, look inside, because you don't realize your behavioral programming is the distortion, not the world outside.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Bruce, for being here. I don't know. I always feel like we call you Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Bruce. I'll throw all of it out there.
Bruce works.
Bruce works too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here and having this deep conversation, this scientific spirit conversation. I know your impact really on the world is massive and major. And I thank you so much for being here.
I am honored to be here with you, because your work, I talk theoretically, you put it into practicality and make it happen. And that's the real interface where the public needs this. Okay, Bruce had some ideas. How can I get there? Well, listen to Kelly. She can help you get there.
And I want to thank those for joining episode 180, Protecting Our Future for Conception into Pregnancy for Ourselves, Our Children, and for Humanity. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.